Manchester United beat Lens 3-1 at Old Trafford in a game of two halves. First half, Manchester United just didn't look very in control of the game. We looked quite timid going forward. And in the 20th minute, we go 1-0 down because of a poor pass from Diogo Dalot to Rafael Varane, which caused Onana to get chipped 40 yards. Now, sometimes you've got to give the opposition credit because it was a beautiful finish. And I can guarantee you that player who scored that goal for Lens will try that 10 times out of 10. I can guarantee you that he will not hit it again. Maybe one time out of 10, he'll hit it as sweet as he did. Sometimes he'll just scuff the shot, or it will go over the crossbar, or Onana will get back to his line in time. Sometimes you just got to give the opposition credit, and that's exactly what that goal was. And it was clear that when the half time came around, the team came out with a different mentality. It was clear Erik ten Hag said a few words to them, and by the 60th minute, Manchester United were winning 3-1, and we just completely turned it around. Alejandro Garnacho looked absolutely on fire. Like, again, I know it's only pre-season, I'm not getting ahead of myself, because the only way we can judge our players is in the first game against Wolves, which is our Premier League, if we're the first game of the Premier League. But with Alejandro Garnacho, he was definitely the match winner. He was definitely the best player on that pitch. And you've also got to give credit to Rashford. I did say in my preview that Rashford would score, and that will do him a world of good of confidence. But I did see Marcus Rashford and Gary Neville on the overlap. If you haven't watched it out, go check it out. It's a brilliant interview by Gary Neville and the overlap. I do love them interviews. But Gary Neville asked Marcus Rashford a question on what is Rashford's favourite position, and Rashford always says that he loves the left wing. And I actually didn't know this. Marcus Rashford also played in goal at one point. But no, in the interview, Gary Neville talks to Marcus Rashford about his positions and many questions that he asks. But he also asks what's Rashford's favourite position, and Rashford says off the left wing, because he feels like that's where his game is most comfortable, and that's where he feels where he can be more of a threat. Centrally, he says that he obviously enjoys playing in that striker position, but he just feels like it's uncomfortable and he's out of place. And the right wing, he says he just doesn't like the right wing. So it's clear Marcus Rashford has admitted himself on camera that the left wing is his primary position. And with Rasmus Højlund expected to be joining us in about 3 weeks because apparently he's picked up an injury, Marcus Rashford is probably going to be the centre forward for the first few games of the Premier League. And that's not worrying. But I'm wondering how Erik ten Hag is going to deal with this, because Alejandro Garnacho is just playing very well. He's going to be pushing for that first team spot like he did last season. And Jadon Sancho as well has also had a good pre-season. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Erik ten Hag does develop this and who he does go for his starting 11. Whether it is Rashford through the middle, Sancho is that false nine like we have seen throughout pre-season. But I am looking forward to seeing how Erik ten Hag does solve out the game. But anyway, Garnacho absolutely on fire. Antony as well took his goal really well. Beautiful assist to Rashford. You've got to give him credit as well. But that's pretty much Antony's career summed up at Manchester United, in my opinion. He'll have games like that where he'll get a goal or an assist and he plays really, really well. Or he'll have a game where he's completely quiet. And that's been Antony's career, or his first season at Manchester United so far. Just very, very inconsistent. Now, Antony, I do love the player, but I am hoping to see more consistency from him throughout the season. But like I said before, that we can only judge him when the Premier League does start. But pre-season is all about seeing what the players are going to show throughout the season, hopefully. Same goes for Mason Mount. Alejandro Garnacho squared it to Mason Mount. He had a tap-in, and Mason Mount obviously scuffed his shot and didn't score a tap-in. Now, I've seen so many fans, United fans, rival fans, how has Mason Mount not scored that? Mason Mount will come good, and unfortunately so far he hasn't had the best pre-season when it comes to lighting it up at Manchester United. But I believe that the midfield is also quite unbalanced. It seems that Casemiro is having to do double the work when it comes to defensive duels. Now, obviously, we've seen this with Eriksen when it was Eriksen, Fernandes and Casemiro. Now, with Mason Mount, I do really like the player. But with Bruno Fernandes, Mount and Casemiro, I don't understand why people say that Mason Mount is this advanced box-to-box number 8. I've always seen him as a 10. When he's in that Chelsea shirt, he was that attacking midfielder. And he doesn't have the defensive capabilities or the defensive awareness to track back and help Casemiro with them defensive duels. When it comes to Mason Mount, he's much better at them defensive duels than Eriksen, but you can be better when it comes to Eriksen, because Eriksen hardly puts a foot in for a tackle. Mason Mount will put a foot in for a tackle, but he still doesn't track back enough. And this is where the importance of Amrabat, when we do sign him, will be such a key player, because in the Premier League, you need extra defensive cover, the physicality of the league. And I believe that Mason Mount won't be a bench player for us, but I just don't understand why we have made this signing at the moment, because it's clear he is the Eriksen replacement and Erik ten Hag really loves Mason Mount. It's obviously clear. I really like Mason Mount and I am hoping he does come good for us. But right now, in my opinion, the midfield just looks quite unbalanced, but that's just my opinion. And the defence as well, Diogo Dalot, obviously that was his fault on the goal we conceded. It was a poor pass to Raphael Varane, and that's it really. But the counter-attack, United looked very good in the transition, and it still reminds me of last season when it comes to, obviously, we play out from the back and we progress up the field, or we have a moment of brilliance where we counter-attack and get a goal. And that's the frustrating part, because Erik ten Hag is clear that he's dying and he's so desperate to incorporate this 3-1-6 formation. We've seen it a bunch of times throughout pre-season, and sometimes we saw it a bit of last season as well when we were able to push up the field. So I'm hoping when Rasmus Højlund does come into the team and when he is fighting fit, we do get to start seeing this. And this is also always the issue when you don't have all your signings ready before pre-season, because you can't work on things, because obviously we've got the international breaks. We've obviously got many games, especially when Europe starts and domestic cup competitions. It's very hard to get the foundation sorted, and that's why pre-season is so important. So don't be surprised if Rasmus Højlund doesn't start his career at Manchester United flying with loads of goals like Erling Haaland did. But Rasmus Højlund as well, a developmental player, much like Alejandro Garnacho, and they are ones for the future, and they are definitely going to become good in my opinion. Especially Alejandro Garnacho. I think that even though he had a breakthrough season last season, I think this is going to be his breakthrough season into the first team, where he is challenging Marcus Rashford, where he is challenging Jadon Sancho and Antony for first team places, because Alejandro Garnacho, his hunger is what is so desirable to him as a young player. But as Erik ten Hag as well, I do believe he got the game right, and it was clear that he knew his players just weren't performing well in the first half. And by the 60th minute, they came out after half-time. It was clear Erik said a few words to them, and by the 60th minute, we were 3-1 up. And that's the beauty of Erik ten Hag and the type of manager he is, that he can send his team out there, and within 15 minutes of the second half, we were up by 2 goals, winning 3-1. But yes, I am looking forward to the game today against Athletic Club, and I'm going to do the preview now. So make sure you tune into that next. Thank you for watching, and take care.